started this live because I was doing a live. Let me see if anyone comes back in. I was doing a live and then the chat got inundated with like bots and like all kinds of things. So we have restarted the live. That's what we have just done. I was joking about how I seem to learn everything for the first time on YouTube, and that I was testing this theory out. And I'm like, hey, look, we're winning. We've got this. And then bots and spam and like, hey, come watch my YouTube channel and weird comments and everything. So it looks like whoever I assigned as a moderator last time is still a moderator this time. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We're back. We're back. So there's a little, for anyone who's going to be watching this, because it is going to be saved. I can see little wrenches next to people who are moderators. Thank you. I was just started slamming buttons and hitting moderators. But ain't that a thing? Aren't these the things that we learn when we're doing this? Okay, let's start over. Good morning and welcome to Advent Day 1. I am Melly from MellyKnits, and together with my husband Aaron, I hand process a lot of wool. So we go to farms or we get them shipped. We do actually go to farms though, because Aaron shears. We get the wool off the sheep, we take it home, we wash it, we card it. We have these big machines called carders. That's one of them there. And I got two more right here. Big machines called carders, which brushes the wool out. And then that puts it into a format that's spinnable. So hand spinners can do their thing and can enjoy. So, here we go. I'm just reading this. Learning with you. Had no idea people that do lives deal with all that hidden in the back, right? Okay. So that's what we do. We get the wool ready to go. And we're here today because the biggest project that I do in the whole entire year starts today. So it's called Fiber Advents, and I've got two. I've got True North, which is this one here, and I have got Delightful, which is this one here. And when I tell you that I think about these things for like the better part of the year, not like with the full power of my mind every day, but like it's there, it's floating. As soon as I decide on the theme that I'm going to go for or what I want to do, then it becomes this wheel turning kind of thing. So I would definitely say that Delightful of all of them was not the least amount of thought, but maybe just easier to put together than True North, because True North had a bigger scope, which I'm about to explain. So, okay, looks like people are coming back in. Looks like people are coming back in. Hi, guys. Thank you. So the same crew that was here with the bots is still here. Still here. People are here to watch them get opened. Thank you for coming to the first live and then, bouncing out of it. It was within a couple of minutes that we did that first live where all the bots showed up. So I'm still a little bit holding my breath and also trying to like re-say things I already said, which I'm totally going to forget. It's cool though. It's great. Hi, Jacqueline. I see your comment. Yes. Okay. Here I said that I was going to do the lives because they felt lazier, because I'm way better on a live than if I sit in this room alone and talk to myself. And then we learned. Okay. Nice mug. Thank you. My sister made this mug on the bottom. I don't want to tip it too far depending on how much coffee I've got on there. What does this one say? This one says Mary. So if you look at the end scene, Lord of the Rings, when the hobbits are all sitting in that final pub right before Sam goes to ask Rosie on a date, and all the hobbits are sitting together and they're kind of looking around like normal life and do the pumpkins and they cheers and they drink. It's this mug. My sister made me a set of 4, and on the bottom of each one has a different one of the hobbits' names. Isn't that fantastic? I think that's fantastic. So anyway, my sister made these for me for Christmas last year. Haven't broken one. Okay. Let's get back to Advents. Let's get back to opening these suckers. All right, so I explained who I was. Scope. Let's talk about the scope of these suckers. In total, with the wait list, we made 102 Advents. That's what went out this year. 102 Advents. And then we did a bunch of blended bats for the wait list as well. I'm going to add up all the numbers, but it was a lot of Advents. And When I say biggest project of the year, I really truly mean it. It's like just an intense amount of work, but I really like it. So it doesn't feel like bad. Like I'm not working on this and being like, oh, I have to do the Advent. I'm like, I get to do the Advent, right? And it just becomes this like, oh, this thing that just takes up every portion of the day. So so that's what we did. 102 Advents. We did equal amounts of Delightful and True North, and then we had another Advent called Guts, which is basically just True North without it being carded. Okay, so let's get into what we did here. Delightful Advent. This bag, and did you guys see that the artist actually added the word delightful to the bag? I don't know if you can see. She added it to her image. So these images on both of these bags are done by an artist up in Nunavut. And that is a territory way up north in Canada. There actually are no roads to get there. You have to fly in. You cannot drive to this place. And I found an artist up there named Iki Iki, and she is a Inuit artist. And she does these watercolor arts. And then she put them on totes. And so this one says True North, as you can see. And under here we have the syllabics. So that would be the written language of the Inuktitut. And so that's actually True North written in the syllabics. And she put it on Delightful somewhere. She put a symbol. I thought she said she put the symbol somewhere on here. Yes, it's very faint. It's light blue written right there. Those symbols you can see. So that is the writing for tundra flower is actually what that is. That's the Inuktitut for tundra flower right now. So isn't that cool? That's how we start. And I'll put her in the comments, in the description of this video. I will tag her and link her Etsy because her art shows up. She does it on a couple different things. I ended up getting like a crew neck and like some other stuff. Just beautiful art. Dang, I want her to do the art absolutely all the time. Quick question. I put the chat last time on a 30-second delay. Is this a problem for anybody? I'm just making sure that everyone is community moderation, chat filters. I'm just looking. No, I didn't put it on delay. Never mind. And it's anyone can participate. Moderators, are you having to do anything or are we okay? This is totally what's living in the back of my head while I am sitting here trying to talk about my Advent. Of course. Okay. So that's the deal with the bag and the story with the bag. So these are obviously prints, but of hand-painted art. And I just thought that was like the coolest thing ever. Double-sided. Yep, they are double-sided. All right, so the Delightful Advent is the same as last year. It is 12 days and 6 fine wool fleeces. So you get day 1 as a plain fleece. You get day 2 as that plain fleece with something special. And we have some really special stuff that happened in here this year that I cannot wait to show you guys over the next 12 days. Every day when I open these things up. So that's how this one's outlined. The treasures that go into Delightful have to be handmade. So they have to be done by artisans. These are the boundaries I put around the Advent, okay? They have to be handmade only treasures. True North is the Advent I did this year. It has 13 days because it has representation from every province and territory in Canada. And that means it's got alpaca and wool. Except for we couldn't get wool from the territories. It's just not there. So instead I supplemented with more wool from my province because that just seemed the most economical. Like I can just get it real easy because it's like in my neighborhood. So there's maybe extra BC wools, but there is alpacas or the specialties from every province and territory. And then this one, the treasures, didn't necessarily have to be handmade. Obviously, I looked for that. I'm a hand maker, so I look for other hand makers. But they did have to come from Indigenous-owned businesses or Indigenous handmade. So everything in here, the 6 treasures, are all, that's the parameters for this Advent. And both Advents are as go back to the earth as much as I can possibly get them back to the earth. So what I mean by that is, I'm going to pull out a day. Here's day 1 of True North, which we're going to start with anyway, so I'll pull it out. Ooh, there's day 1, True North. We got Mr. Moose. So what I mean by goes back to the earth as much as possible is this card is seed paper. So even if you don't want to plant it and grow flowers, you can compost it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it will biodegrade. You could literally go bury it in your backyard somewhere if you want it to go away. There is a label on the back of it, but I tested it and those come off really easily. In every Advent, there were cards like this that matched the Advent. So this was the color scheme for True North. This color scheme and art was done originally by my daughter and husband, who did the original design, and then later on classed up, dressed up, cleaned up by Marina from Batty Fibers. And then she did all the custom color work on them this year. We love you, Marina. So what I figured is you can pull the little label-y off the back of here. It comes off real easy, and you could just stick it onto this if you want to remember what the different days are and actually put these back in the earth. Up to you. But they're beautiful. They're beautiful. These are hand cut and hand stamped by the students. Hand stamped. And I want you to know the word day is an individual D-A-Y stamp. Like, I don't have a stamp that says day. These guys really stamped a lot of cards. There's something crazy, like 1,200 and something cards. So that's what happened. Reading the comments. Okay, so there you go. So those are the parameters for the 2 different Advents, right? Fine wools, handmade treasures, all Canadian Indigenous treasures, and going back to the earth. So even this tissue has no tape because save the tissue, use it for something else. All the strings in all these Advents are hand dyed by my sister. And I don't know what this yarn is. This is something she had, but I know that the yarn on Delightful, let's look at that, is from Lynn at West Coast Color. It's her Shropshire. I had a white skein of it and I'm like, dye this one. So these are all hand dyed by my sister. So the strings, True North has a myriad of colors because we're celebrating all these beautiful colors we have up here in Canada. Anyway, that is how the Advents are laid out. That's the parameters. And we did 102 of this. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to talk about. I don't think so. Okay. You guys want to get to the opening? This is already as long as I thought these were going to be in total. These openings, I was like under 15 minutes. But because we had the little hiccup with the bots earlier, thank you moderators for moderating this. Learning on the fly is my favorite. Love learning with an audience. Don't we all love learning with an audience? Okay, let's see here. I was just complaining about tape in another Advent. Super appreciative, no tape. You're welcome. I want to know how you squished it into the tissue. My hands would ache at the end of the night because we wrapped like 1,200 of these things, right? It's a process of holding it really tight because I want to get everything into the smallest box possible to try and keep the shipping from being too insane. Anyway, it's this whole thing. That's how we did it. Okay, let's open True North. So True North has 13 days, Delightful has 12. So let's just start and end with True North in this Advent. I can alternate days I open them. And then the last day will be day 13, just True North. But the other part of that day, I'm going to go into what it was like to make this Advent because people always have really questions on production. Some people love to know about the production of MellyKnits, like how do we actually card that much wool from my home? This used to be my kid's bedroom, you know, like not actually being set up like a big mill or whatever. So we're going to talk about that on the last day. Okay, so here we go. Let's open day 1. Ah! Do you want to know what it is before I open it? Okay, so the string just pops right off. Some of them might have knots. One of the helpers was having trouble getting strings. The first day you might have knots, but otherwise the string should just come off. I have no idea what you should do with those bits of strings. Make a pom-pom at the end. The saddest little pom-pom you've ever seen in your whole entire life. All right, this opens up. Here we go. Boom, day 1. Now something to talk about. Ooh, look at the colors. Yes, yes. Something to talk about with True North. We're starting in Newfoundland with the alpaca. So the alpaca is going to dictate how we're going to move across this great big country of mine, ours, depending on who's in this chat. We're going to come from Newfoundland all the way across the country to BC, where I am. Then we're going to go up and over, and we're going to end in Nunavut. That's what we're going to do. Okay, we're gonna go up to the Yukon, Northwest Territories, Nunavut, and that's how we're gonna end. And the alpaca is gonna dictate how we're gonna move. So we are beginning with Newfoundland. Newfoundland's cool. I got to visit there in February. I don't know if anyone tracked with that story where I got stranded in Toronto and my plane had to turn around and whatever else because my son was out there working. He had an internship for a year. He's home now. I got to go visit. Got to hang out with my friend Chris. I got to, Chris is another spinner. He's around. I got to hang out. Do I need to do the hand? Oh, maybe. Maybe that's helpful. Look at this lock. Look at this lock. Okay, so let's talk about the wool because that's what I said I was going to do. So this wool is from Manitoba. And Manitoba, for anyone who doesn't know the geography, is in the prairies. It's kind of heading over towards where Canada changes again. When I talk about just the land type or whatever. This is one of the last fleece that came in. Was this one of the last fleece that came in? I think this was the last fleece that came in, or second to last. I kind of didn't think too much when I was trying to find all the wools across Canada. I didn't think too much about Manitoba because they have a real wool culture there. There's mills there and lots of farms and fiber festivals and everything else. So I thought, no brainer. I'm going to be able to get wool, and I'm not going to think about Manitoba yet. I'm going to focus on the more difficult provinces that I know I'm going to have a hard time with, like Newfoundland, which actually was the second wool I got in. Or Prince Edward Island, or, oh gosh, New Brunswick was hard. We'll talk about that when we get to that day. We got there, but we'll talk about it when we get to that day. So I left Manitoba thinking it would be easy peasy lemon squeezy, and it was not. It was so hard, and I ended up reaching out to so many shepherds, and people either didn't have anything or they didn't email back, or there was all this stuff. And then eventually I found this wonderful was random stranger on the internet and is now someone that I've gotten to know a little bit. And she, I put a note out on Instagram. I was like, hey, anyone going to the Manitoba Fiber Festival? Anybody going who would be willing to proxy shop for me? And she totally went. She doesn't even work with raw wool. And she was like, I'll do what I can. And she FaceTimed me from the event in Manitoba, chose 2 fleece with me over the phone, and then went home and boxed them up and mailed them to me. I paid her for for all the wool and everything, but she did all of that out of her kindness. And I'm so grateful. So thank you, because otherwise I don't know if we would have had a Manitoba fleece, and that would have been brutal, because it was I thought it was going to be one of the easier provinces other than BC, which would be really easy because I'm here and I know a lot of the shepherds. But yeah, that's how I ended up getting this Manitoba fleece, guys. One of our own in the fiber community went and shopped this for me at a fiber festival, boxed it up and mailed it to my house. So this is a new to me shepherd, Spirit Sands shepherds. I don't know them. This is a polypay, which is a down wool, X Rambouillet, which is a fine wool. So isn't that kind of cool? We got this down wool and this fine wool. That's a really long lock. I've never seen Rambouillets that long. I wouldn't have even guessed polypay. I wonder if they have anything else going on in this breed, if those were just the 2 main ones that they know. Because that's actually, it's not all the fleece was this long. There were some more normal ones too. But I was actually really surprised when I saw the length of it. The feel's really nice. It's definitely got tooth. It's going to spin without needing too much of your brain. But it does have a nice lofty softness to it too. So this is what the carded wool looks like, blended up with the Newfoundland alpaca, which was a golden color. So I got Newfoundland alpaca from a farm called Exploits Meadows Farms. And they were so funny. When I'd reached out to a bunch of alpaca farmers, and there was maybe 3 there. And this one actually got back to me. And I'm like, listen, I'm doing this project from across Canada, and I really am looking for some alpaca, blah, blah, blah. And I reached out to them, and they were like, yeah, we can get you that. We can get you, a pound. Sure, no problem. And I gave them my address. And then the guy's like, you know where we are, right? And I was like, yeah, you're hopefully Newfoundland, because that's where I need alpaca from. He's like, okay. But you can see this loving eye roll of you want to ship 1 pound of alpaca for that rate of shipping all the way across the country? It was really expensive. And I'm like, yes, I do. So it's okay. It's all right. It's all for the experience. So that's what it looks like. If you can see up close how the gold color of the Newfoundland alpaca kind of affected the dark brown of this. Isn't that pretty? How that blended out. Love, love, love. So that is day 1 of True North. We have, and all these are 20% alpaca, by the way. Newfoundland alpaca with Manitoba Polypay X Rambouillet that was lovingly hand selected by one of our own in the fiber community who answered my Instagram stories call and saved my butt on this Advent, and I love it. Okay, day 1 does not have a treasure. Day 2 does with True North. So we'll see a treasure for True North tomorrow. I can't wait to show you guys those. Anything else I need to say about this fleece? It was found in a butt saving type of way. I loved, oh, this was an alpaca that I hand washed. So we had 3 types of alpaca that showed up. We had roving, and we had one that the shepherdess washed, and that one's got character. Can't wait to tell you guys about that one. And then we had ones I washed. I actually washed quite a lot of alpaca. I got super good at washing alpaca. I hadn't really washed raw alpaca a whole lot. And through this process, I'm now like the alpaca washing rock star. Holy moly. And it's way easier to wash than wool. Maybe we should talk about that too if anybody wants to know. For anybody who has the Guts Advent and you are carding this, I did have questions this morning because the Guts Advent is basically just this, not carded. Just a whole bunch of this with the blob of alpaca, right? For anybody, I had some questions this morning. I begin blending immediately when it's going through the carder. So I will actually pick open my wool and then I'll feed wool, 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 blob of alpaca, wool, 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 blob of alpaca. And I'll kind of do that over and over again. And start the blending process right away. First pass on the carder. Then it comes off the carder and I start breaking off my strips, and you see me carding on Instagram, feeding them back into the carder and just increasing that blend. They're never gonna blend out when the colors are this different. You're gonna have that sort of marled look, which I think is absolutely beautiful. But there we go. That's what that looks like. Oh, people wanna know about washing alpaca. You guys want me to save that one for day 13 when I talk about processing the Advent? I can write that down. No, I don't have a pen. Someone will have to remind me. So I'm counting on you to remind me. Okay, because already this one's 22. 22 minutes. Really longer if you consider we had one Advent before this that needs to be destroyed. I hope it's not like saved to my thing right now. Okay, so there's day 1, True North. We begin our journey in Newfoundland and we continue across the country. So tomorrow we're gonna open up Nova Scotia, meaning the alpaca, not the wool. Okay. Yes, Nova Scotia. Woo woo! Okay. Everyone is 30-second chat delay. I think I'm on delay. Oh, Kaylee, do we need to not have people on a 30-second chat delay? Do you think? Would that be helpful? Maybe? Just stopping. Very different doing live than filming these. Gotta say, I love it so far. I know we've had like a bit of a moment this morning together, figuring everything out. But no, it doesn't say there's a delay. It says there's no delay. But I do appreciate the live better because I'm like talking to you guys and not alone in this room, which makes me crazy. Okay. Let's put True North away. There's our day 1. Where's my moose? Where did I stick my moose? He's in the bag. The moose is in the bag. Let's move on to day 1, Delightful. Do you guys want to see what the card looked like for Delightful? Hold up. Hold up. This one. Okay. Here's what the art. Marina did custom color art for Delightful to match the theme, to match the vibe. Marina's from Batty Fibers. So that is the color work she did to go with this Advent. She nailed it. Looks absolutely beautiful. And it's funny too because Iki, who did this art, is the one that dictated all the colors of my Advent. Second I found her art, I'm like, color theme. Thank you. See? I'll say it once, I'll say it again. I'm very helped. And so, well, the reason why we have lavender string is because I found this gorgeous art and it got matched to it, etc. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't just generate these things in my head. pick a good thing and then I follow the trail. All right. Okay, here we come into Delightful Day 1. So remembering Delightful is 2 parts. We're going to open the plain one today, and then tomorrow we're going to open this one, blend it in with something quite lovely. So the spinner has a different experience with Delightful, whereas True North, obviously there's going to be this big variety and range because I grabbed all different breeds from all over the country. With True North, you have these kind of more with Delightful, you have these sort of micro experiences where you spin this 25 grams of fiber A, and then fiber A a little altered, a little bit affected. And it provokes, like for me at least, I'm like, ooh, do I like that better? Sometimes I'm like, oh, I like that better. Like that smoothed it out or toothed it up or whatever else it might have done. It's not always just about the visual look of the yarn. Like, did it make it fluffy? Did it make it shiny? Sometimes it's like, it really does quite dramatically affect the spin of the yarn to where your spin of the wool, where, you know, maybe on day 1, I had to like treadle more or less or go a little slower, and then on day 2 I might just be zooming, or the opposite. So Delightful's kind of cool, like whereas True North, you're gonna literally try different, you're gonna have like some sort of fines, primitives, mostly medium. I would say that Advent is like 90% medium wools, whereas this one, it's more about comparison maybe? Comparison's probably the word, where you can kind of directly compare because you just had altered versus unaltered version of the fleece. I love it. Okay, Gladys says the drafting experience was very different with each combo in Delightful last year, right? And these are 20% infusions. So, I mean, that's not even like, it's a lot, but it's not tons to think of how much that will affect your wool. So this is really cool for anybody who's kind of curious about blending and like how different blends and specialty fibers can actually dramatically, even according to Gladys here, affect your wool. Kaylee says, especially with the possum. I'm not sorry. Wait till you guys see what's in this one this year. Woo woo! All right. So first of all, this one does come with the treasure, the first treasure of our Advent experience, and it says Delightful Lip Balm. And it's got a little mountain range, and it's super cute. And this is handmade Canadian tallow. So my sister actually renders her own tallow and then made us these lip balms, and they smell kind of like, they smell like anything, I thought. Yeah, there's like a slight like, what is that? What is that? Something herby. It's something herby. Ooh. Oh, that's good. Almost cinnamony or something. There's like some kind of a spice to it. I really like it. My sister makes absolutely beautiful products. So Mazza House Pottery is my sister. She's the one that made the mug I was just drinking out of. And she made us a tallow lip balm for this Advent from tallow. She like in her slow cooker, she's cooking down fat and making tallow. Very cool. If anyone hasn't tried tallow before, it's miraculous. It's miraculous. So that's the first. Oh, it smells so good. That's the first one that comes, the first treasure of Delightful. Here we go. Day 1, we went with that Tundra Flower vibe. Here's the seed paper sticker. Seed paper card. They're all different Tundra or little flowers on here this year, like wildflowers. And this one, so last year's Delightful, True North is the first year I've done a True North, but I did do Delightful last year. There's some very sketchy videos on here where I learned how to YouTube while I was doing Delightful. Delightful last year I opened with a Corriedale, and I called it the warm-up because I wanted everyone to begin the Advent in a gentle, approachable way before we get into some of the fibers that could hurt your feelings a little bit more or be a little bit tricky. It's a fine wool Advent, so you know what you signed up for. But sometimes there's certain fine wools that you're just gonna be like, dang it, you know, like as you're spinning them, right? Like, so again, we started gentle this year with a fiber type that I love and that does appear in my shop. We have got, this is what the blob looks like. There's our color today. Very grayish, very lovely. Ooh. Okay. This is the lock. This is a bond from Shiloh Wool. Anyone who's been with me for a while, you've seen this in my shop. Maybe you've gotten to spin some. I got this bond from Shiloh Wool in the spring, and the second it arrived, I went, delightful, and it went up on the Advent shelf because it is so pretty. This color is ridiculous. So the fleece did have a lot of browns in it. There was whole sections. This one was like probably like a tricolor fleece. And so I pulled the brown sections out to keep this as grayish as possible to go with the color story that I have for Delightful this year, which is yet to be fully revealed. But it's good. Also, not gradienting this year, so you can't even guess what's coming next. We're gonna sneak attack all of this. Okay, so there is our Bond. Bond is a fine wool, but the nickname is fine wool with work boots. There was Bond in the Advent last year from Shiloh Wool. I love this Bond producer over in Australia. Bond is higher micron. It's like the highest you're going to get in the fine wool category. So it's like 23, 24 microns. I would say this is an easy spinner. I don't want to say that and then have someone out there spinning it this morning being like, dang it, Bond, you're killing me. But like this is, for me and for most, it's a fine wool, but it's not going to hurt your feelings when you're spinning it. You're going to have a good time with this. You're going to get, you're going to just get a good, I want to say effortless spin. I just don't want to shame anybody if they're out there having a hard time. But like, that's kind of what this vibe is. There is the work boot quality, fine wool with work boots. For anyone who doesn't know, Bond is the inverse of Corriedale. So both were developed over in Australia. And essentially it's like Merinos and Lincolns getting it on. You know what I'm saying? Like way back. Everything kind of starts from some type of a fine wool mixed with some type of a long wool. Like when you see like, you know, Merino Romney or Merino, Lincoln? What's the other one they mix them with? Like other long wool sheep will come together, and then we have these fine wools that we have today. But in the case of this one, it was something to do with switching the rams. You know what I mean? Like maybe a Lincoln ram with a Merino ewe versus a Merino ram with a Lincoln ewe. I don't know. Inverse. Look it up. And so one bred for one type of characteristic and one bred for the other. And so they're actually really related, Bond and Corriedale, and yet so different when you spin them. Like I always find that Bonds have a bit of a natural shine to them, and you get them in all these kind of really fun colors too. So anyway, there it is. There's our Bond for this year. All natural colors, remember, in all of these Advents. So every color we're going to see this year, these are just as the sheep grew them, except for in the case of True North where it got blended with the alpaca. But oh my gosh, so pretty, am I right? So pretty. Love the draft of it, love the look of it. Love Bond. I love Bond. Big fan of Bond. So that's where we're starting this year. Tomorrow, we are going to see the next, what I blended the Bond with. We're also going to open up day 2 of True North, which is going to take us to Nova Scotia, alpaca-wise, and get our first True North treasure. And then my plan for these lives is to be a lot quicker than today. We'll just call today the long one because it's like the first one, but my plan is to zoom and talk about it, but also like move through it and just kind of touch in every day on a live, which will be saved. These lives will be saved to my YouTube channel. And I'm going to put any notes for any shepherds. All shepherds are going to get credited. All people who helped me along the way are going to get credited. Artists will be credited, businesses will be credited, everything is going to go. So if you guys want to find anybody or look anybody up, there will always be in the description. I will make them fulsome with information. And on the last day, I'm going to talk about the last day of True North, day 13. And I'm also going to talk about what it was like to process this Advent. And that's when I'll talk about washing alpaca and even where I got tips for doing that. I'm like, 6 years in? Always be learning, still learning. And I had a really great friend who popped in and was like, I just talked to a shepherd and they said this. And I was like, what? And so I did that, and sure enough, it was great. So there you go. Okay, I'm going to just see, I get a strong shaken, not stirred vibe. Oh, Melanie's pulling out names from last year's Bond. Except for last year I went James Bond with the theme of Bond, and this year I went like emotional Bond. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, this day is called So Emotional, because it's an emotional Bond. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. I have fun with the stupid names that go into Delightful, which we'll see more of them as we go along. But anyway, that's pretty much what I've got. Also, someone in the chat's talking about what do we plan on doing? Resource share for sure. What do you plan on doing with your Advent? Last year I did a giant tube scarf, looked like an earthworm. I do have plans this year. Last year, I spun all of my Delightfuls individually and had 12 skeins. This year, I do design Delightful that you would apply day 1 with day 2, and then you apply day 3 with day 4, and you'd end up with 6 50-gram skeins versus 12 25-gram skeins. But last year I wanted to see how they moved, so I knit like kind of a sampler, and this year I'm not. This year I'm going to spin this one and ply it with day 2 like I want to see them, because that's sort of how it's designed. And I do have ideas. I want to knit the Hidden Gems shawl by Artifacts of Appreciation out of this one. Maybe. We're going to see. That's the current plan. Okay, guys, I'm going to go. Thank you for bearing with me in the first live with the bots that we're not talking about. Thank you, moderators, for moderating. And oh, Samantha just says, this is so good to know. I was not sure how to plan my plying. It's up to you, Samantha, how you want to approach Delightful, obviously. I was really intentional this year about the days with the add-ins looking as similar as possible, because I have a combo ply in my mind. So just consider that as an option. But anyway, oh, and then someone's asking about, is there anything with plying or et cetera for True North? No, that one is actually just, I mean, you could spin a whole bunch of bobbins and see if there's combos you want to make, but that one is just, each day is its own thing, because each wool is a different breed. Whereas with Delightful, we're going to see Bond again tomorrow, just with something in it, right? So the reveal with this kind of happens when we see what I blended it with, and then they are sort of designed to come together because they're the same fleece. Whereas True North, there's 13 different fleeces. So making ply decisions on that would have to be more just if you want to. I'm going to do my True North individual. I will have 13 tiny skeins at the end. And then we'll make a plan for that too. Okay, so that's what's going on if I explain that. See, this is why a live is good. I can read your comments. I can just answer it rather than sitting here like an idiot alone trying to think up what you might want to know. Thank you, guys. Okay, so I'm going. And tomorrow I'll see you back where we open day 2 of both. And kisses. Thank you for waiting this out with me, restarting the live, and moderating and removing bots and all these things we're learning about live and in person. But you guys are gorgeous. I appreciate you. Now I have to figure out how I turn this off. Oh, I just did it. I did it before. Do I hit that one? No, that's to start a poll. Oh, there's an X. There's an X. There's a big X right there in my top corner. So, you know, smart. 9:30 tomorrow morning, my time, 9:30 my time, 12:30 Eastern Standard. If you're in somewhere else in the world, I don't know. See you guys back here. Okay. Kisses. Goodbye.